Warning, I am not a part of the Sonic fanbase, and this is not a Sonic channel. If you are looking for Sonic discourse related to whether or not this game is good or bad, series rankings or tier lists, Sonic community drama, or the future direction of the franchise, this video is not for you. Please leave me alone, I am a grown man. Sonic Adventure 2 crosses my mind a lot. It was originally released on the Dreamcast in 2001 and later received a more popular re-release on the GameCube that same year. And after all these years, I've recently had a new revelation about it. Sonic Adventure 2 is the most 2000 game of all time. Weird flex, I know. Anyway, yeah. Let me make sure this part is clear. When I say the most 2000 game of all time, I don't mean the entire 2000s decade. I literally mean the year 2000, Y2K as some people might call it.
In the year 2000, the danger lies in the so-called millennium bug.
Despite a smooth rollover into year 2000, Y2K experts say we're not out of the woods just yet.
This game's development began around late 1999, and it shows. To put it more clearly, Sonic Adventure 2 as a game is a time capsule that represents a lot of the cultural trends that we saw starting from the late 90s and going into the year 2000. So please keep this part in mind before you comment. But yeah, from a historical standpoint, this matters because as someone who was alive and old enough to participate in a lot of the youth culture of that time, it means we can use this game as a fun way to understand and discuss a lot of the things that were happening culturally around that time. Not just in the gaming space, but also in pop culture as a whole. Let's take the Chow Garden, for example. Chow Garden is a mode in Sonic Adventure 2 that originally debuted in Sonic Adventure 1. It's a mode that lets you raise pet creatures called Chow. You can feed them, pet them, throw them, watch them grow and evolve, make them fight, all of that. It's a very interesting side game, and I spent tons of hours in it, almost as much as the main game even. This mode is a product of the virtual pet trend that we saw booming in the late 90s. Virtual pets were these small electronic toy devices that let you raise virtual pets. They were very popular in the late 90s and early 2000s, with the most popular example being Tamagotchi by Bandai, which sold 40 million units in 2 years after its 1997 release. To put that in perspective, Tamagotchi sold faster than Thriller and the first generation Pokemon games. The fad faded very quickly though, but in the video game space specifically, we still saw an influx of monster raising type games in the late 90s, such as Monster Rancher released in 1997, and of course Digimon World 1 released in 1999, which was heavily based on Bandai's Digimon line of virtual pet toys. So much so that it left thousands of kids around the world confused about why they couldn't stop their Digimon from pooping and dying the whole time. The Chow Garden in Sonic Adventure 2 is among the lineage of video games that incorporated virtual pet elements during the late 90s and early 2000s, right down to the Tamagotchi-esque form factor that we saw with the VMU Chow minigame on the Dreamcast. But what else is it about Sonic Adventure 2 that makes it the most 2000 game of all time? The Sonic and Shadow levels in Sonic Adventure 2 have a lot of rail grinding and snowboarding. These activities are called extreme sports. Some of the most popular extreme sports include activities like skateboarding and rollerblading. And the late 90s in particular is when extreme sports started to really hit the mainstream. We can break this down in a number of ways. You have the real-life shoe brand called Soap that briefly made sneakers specifically for grinding rails. These sneakers were literally featured in Sonic Adventure 2 not only on Sonic's feet, but through actual in-game advertisements. And by the way, when I say briefly, I mean this company was created in 1996 and went defunct after being acquired by their competitor shoe brand, Heelys, in 2002. Again, this game is a late 90s, 2000 time capsule in a lot of ways. And I have to make sure to emphasize how big the extreme sports boom was around this time. Tony Hawk landed the first 900-degree spin on a skateboard in 1999. This was an iconic moment that cemented him as an important figure in skateboard culture. This was the same year Tony Hawk Pro Skater released on the PlayStation and went on to become a huge hit. You also had snowboarding games like SSX that debuted in 2000, as well as Jet Set Radio, which also debuted in the year 2000. You have extreme sports shows like Rocket Power on Nickelodeon that debuted in 1999, Johnny Tsunami on Disney Channel also in 1999, Brink in 1998. Man, even I was rollerblading and skateboarding around this time. But I hope you get the idea if you weren't alive or you were too young to process it. This time period is when extreme sports started to really blow up, and Sonic Adventure 2's rail grinding and snowboarding elements are very emblematic of that. But okay, what else we got? What else makes Sonic Adventure 2 the most 2000 game of all time? Well, you know what we got to talk about next. Let's get into this soundtrack. The Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack is iconic. Depending on who you ask, it is the most standout aspect of the game. It leans into the usage of lyrics and vocals and covers a diverse array of genres. And to truly understand what makes it so 2000, we need to look at what was going on in music culture at the time. First off, the composer of this soundtrack, Jun Senue, has talked about the impact that MTV had on his approach to music. I bring this up because when we look at the soundtrack through this lens, the genre diversity makes sense. It almost feels like a TRL countdown.
Times Square, New Year's Eve 1999, the definitive Millennium celebration. MTV invites you to Ground Zero to share the party of the century. The festivities begin following the TRL Top 99 of 99 at 7 p.m.
For example, the song Escape from the City from the first level of the game, a pop punk rock song with lyrics themed around escaping from the city. Pop punk as a genre was seeing a boom around this time, with bands like Blink-182, for example, who released Enema of the State in 1999, which was largely considered the album that launched them into the mainstream and helped popularize the pop punk sound. It doesn't stop there though. Adventure 2's soundtrack has acid jazz tracks like Flying the Freedom and Egg Quarters for the Rouge the Bat levels. And this genre actually developed in the early 90s with bands like the Brand New Heavies, but reached peak mainstream success in the late 90s through the band Jamiroquai, with their song Virtual Insanity winning MTV's Video of the Year award in 1997 and a Grammy in 1998. And then of course we have the game's hip-hop tracks like Wild Canyon and Pumpkin Hill for the Knuckles levels. And 1999 to 2000 was definitely a big year for hip-hop, with artists like Lauryn Hill being the first hip-hop artist to win Album of the Year in 1999 in the Grammys, and Eminem also making his major label debut in 1999 with the Slim Shady LP, further popularizing the genre among white audiences, as well as being a fan favorite on MTV's TRL Countdown. I will say, the only thing that could make this soundtrack more late 90s / early 2000s would be an emotional pop song from a boy band or something. Beyond the pop culture influences though, there are a couple more aspects of the game that I think represent a lot of the trends that we saw starting around this time.
So far, so good. Hey, that's...
That blue hedgehog again, of all places.
I found you, faker.
Faker? I think you're the fake hedgehog around here.
So, Sonic Adventure 2 is one of many games around this time that had a dark clone version of the main character, with the dark clone in this case obviously being Shadow. Now, to be quite honest, this is one of those tropes that's hard to discuss in a precise way. You have characters like Bizarro from Superman, for example, that existed way before the late 90s and early 2000s that kind of fall into a similar-ish category. So I don't actually want to make the claim that it started around the year 2000. What I do want to say happened around the year 2000 though is that within the video game space specifically, there was a major uptick in games that centered evil clone characters. For example, you have K-Dash, who debuted as the central character in King of Fighters 99, and K-Dash was created as the dark clone of Kyo Kusanagi, the first main character of the King of Fighters series. You have Shadow Mario from Super Mario Sunshine in 2002, who was the dark antagonist of Mario in that game. You got Dark Samus from Metroid Prime 2 Echoes in 2004 as well, and honestly, the list goes on, but yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 was a part of that wave. Then there's some of the gameplay aspects that are very representative of that era as well, like the multiplayer mode, for example, that included a racing mode, a treasure hunting mode, robot battles. They even had a multiplayer element with the child competitions. I've covered this a bit in my video on 7th Gen gaming about how during the 6th generation of gaming, it was more common for single player centric games to include multiplayer modes on the side. Games like Zone of the Enders 2 and Metroid Prime 2 were both just a few of the many examples of single player games that included offline versus modes, for example. And again, this was not a trend that necessarily started in the year 2000, but it was a trend that was still very much going strong in gaming around this time. Add on to the fact that the Sonic Adventure series was already continuing the wave of 3D platformer games with anthropomorphic characters that we saw in the 90s and going well into the 2000s, and it goes without saying that even the basic surface level elements of this game were very of the times. To illustrate how all of this comes full circle, let's connect the dots with Sonic Adventure 1 on the Dreamcast. Sonic Adventure 1 had a downloadable content release on December 29, 1999, known as the Y2K event. This event put Millennium Rings around various stages and gave the players a message wishing them a happy 2000 and asking them to support Sonic in the year 2000. And in a way, this event can be seen as a symbolic foreshadowing of what Sonic Adventure 2 would go on to do. From the extreme sports influence to the 2000 era MTV-esque soundtrack to the Tamagotchi craze inspired gameplay elements, if you wanted to get an idea of what was going on in the late 90s leading up to the year 2000, Sonic Adventure 2 is the ultimate time capsule in video game form. Many of you might try and think of other examples of games that represent this era better, and if you do, I'll respect the effort, but in my opinion, this game right here most likely has them beat. Comment if you have thoughts, support if you like, and subscribe to support. It's GK. Peace out.